Good morning, students. Hope you are able to hear me. Welcome to Ekcel Academy CSEET crash course. Today we'll be looking at business environment and economics. Before we proceed towards the actual lessons, a quick announcement about our mock tests. So if you have not already taken up the CSEET mock test, I would suggest please do take it up. All that you need to do is visit our website. The link for which is in the description below, www.ekcelacademy.com, EKCEL that is, and register there free of cost. You don't have to pay for the mock test, and then take it up, because why this becomes important is maybe you are writing this exam for the first time, so maybe you do not know the kind of questions which gets asked in these type of exams, or maybe you want that feel of the exam before you actually take up the final exam. So for various reasons you may want to take up mock tests. So even if you do not know those reasons yet, I would suggest still go and register and take it up. So it will be of immense help. At least it will give you some confidence that you have already appeared for this exam. So there is nothing to fear. There is nothing new that is out lurking there. So you would be familiar with whatever the devil that is the exam. So having said that, let's move on to the lesson. Okay. So I believe we were in chapter 4, almost at the end, I guess, or I think we had finished it. Yeah, this is chapter 4, no? Financial markets. Almost at the end of chapter 4, I believe. So capital markets, we have looked at share capital, debentures, differences between share capital and shares and debentures. Basically, one is debt, the other is actually the investment, and with one becomes the part owner, and with the other one becomes the lender. So yeah, so there are certain things like Sfurti and other stuff. Just try to remember the facts, because it's laborious to read everything now, especially at the 11th hour. So don't worry too much about things which you are not aware of, and I will be skipping few parts, obviously, because we have less time. As I've already mentioned, if you want the full course, it's already there, recorded, uploaded on our website, excelacademy.com. So all you need to do is register. That's it. Let's move on. Now, another important chapter, lesson 5, that is Indian economy. Let's see what we have in store here. Primary, agriculture and allied activities. What is that we do with respect to agriculture, or how much of economy is contributed with respect to agriculture? So they say it's a primary thing. Agriculture is the primary source of livelihood for about 58% of India's population. That's a major chunk of population who are actually dependent on agriculture. They say it's a primary source of livelihood. Gross value added, we have already seen what is gross value added. So whenever there is duplication in the chains of production, we look at GVA. So that is what they are using here as well. Gross value added by agriculture, forestry, fishing is estimated at 18.53 trillion rupees, or in terms of billion, 271 US dollars, that is billion US dollars. That was in financial year 18. After that, the institute hasn't found time to update the data, so we'll stick with financial year 18 data. Next, the Indian food industry is poised for huge growth. Again, we don't need all that sermons. Let's see what are the facts. Okay, the Indian food and grocery market is the world's 6th largest. Important, can be asked as a fact-based question, with retail contributing 70% of the sales. Okay, the Indian food processing industry accounts for 32% of the country's total food market. Okay, one of the largest industries in India, and is ranked 5th in terms of production, they say. Okay, so try to remember this. The Indian food and grocery market is world's 6th largest. The rest you can simply ignore. or this is also important, it contributes around 8.8 and 8.39% of gross value added in manufacturing and agriculture respectively, 13% of India's exports, and 6% of India's total industrial investment. That is also important. Try to remember this data. Now, major investments. Investments worth 8,500 crores have been announced in India for ethanol production. Okay. The first mega food park in Rajasthan was inaugurated in March 2018. Again, they may ask this question. The agri-food startups in India received funding of 1.66 billion US dollars between 13 and 17 in 558 deals. So these things usually escape our attention. So they have specifically mentioned this. Agri startups. Usually we don't think of agri startups. So we think of startups other than those related to agriculture. But it is heartening to see that agriculture food-based startups in India have received so much of funding over a period of 4-5 years. In 2017, agriculture sector in India witnessed 18 merger and acquisition deals worth $251 million. That is also a good sign. Now, what about the government then? What has government done with respect to agriculture? What are their initiatives? Let's read those one by one. PM of India launched the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana. Okay, whatever that means. So the PM has launched and transferred rupees 2021 crores to the bank accounts of more than 10 million beneficiaries. Okay, that is interesting. So much has been transferred to the beneficiaries. They don't mention who are the beneficiaries though. Most likely the farmers. The government of India has come out with the Transport and Marketing Assistance Scheme to provide financial assistance for transport and marketing. The name is obvious. So they are providing such assistance to agricultural farmers so that they can take their produce elsewhere and sell it. Obviously they won't be able to sell it wherever they grow, so for that reason they have been provided this facility. Good. The agricultural export policy was approved by Government of India in December 18. The new policy aims to increase India's agricultural exports to $60 billion by 2022 and $100 billion in the next few years with stable trade policy regime. This is their goal. Hopefully the target will be achieved. So again, then there is Pradhan Mantri Annadata Ai Sanrakshan Abhiyan. I wish they would name all these schemes in English so that South Indians would also be able to pronounce and understand it in a better manner. I guess that won't happen anytime soon. Anyway, so the Government of India has announced so much in some procurement policy. Okay, then there are other stuff as well, not very important. So all you have to do is just remember the names. For example, here Pradhan Mantri Kisan Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Sinchai, I don't know what the meaning of Sinchai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly or not. So PMKSY. What is PMKSY? Who knows? They may ask. And what is ASHA? AASHA. Annadata Ai Samrakshan Abhiyan. Okay. So then we have scheme for agro marine processing and development of agro processing clusters, Sampada. So because these are all catchy acronyms, I would suggest try to remember the full forms of these acronyms. It is important that you remember. You may never know, they may ask. It's easy to ask questions based on this. Then we have PACS, Primary Agricultural Credit Society. Okay, what they do, what is the amount which they have spent, all those things you will not be able to remember. Forget about it, but at least the names you can easily remember. Now comes the secondary market or economy, which is the manufacturing. So primary economy of our country, as you have already seen, 58% depend on agriculture. Now the manufacturing has emerged as one of the high growth sectors in India. Okay, so this is a very popular program launched by the Prime Minister, that is Make in India, wherein manufacturing in India is encouraged rather than importing to our country. So what they want to do is they want to place India on the world map of manufacturing hub. Right now, it is undoubtedly China, which is what is manufacturing hub of the world. So starting from small electronic device to iPhone and iPad, everything is manufactured in China. So whether we like it or not, that is the case. But the government has been thinking and coming out with initiatives to encourage manufacturing in India. So that's why this Make in India program was launched. Okay. Now again they have some arrange agreements with some few global manufacturing giants. So not very important. Okay, let us see who all have actually started their manufacturing hub in India. As of December 2008, premium smartphone maker OnePlus is not a premium smartphone maker, but yeah, they started out as budget smartphone maker. Even now, they don't consider themselves as premium smartphone maker. They consider themselves as mid to premium smartphone range. That's where they are. Okay. But whatever it is, good thing is they have set up their R&D base. Is anticipating, they are not even set up, is anticipating that India will become its largest research and development base within the next 3 years. So maybe they have a small base. They are expecting that whatever base they have in India for research and development, it will become its largest R&D base in the next 3 years. If it becomes, it's good. So once they have their R&D base here, probably they will move manufacturing to India extensively. Then what else? So then there is Philatex India. They also want to do something. Again, it's not something which they have done. It's all about future plans. Not very important. You can actually skip this entire part. Don't even bother reading that. Major government initiatives. The government of India has taken several initiatives to promote a healthy environment for the growth of manufacturing sector. Okay. Tell us the facts. In October 2018, the Government of India released the Draft National Policy on Electronics (NPE), National Policy on Electronics, which has envisaged creation of 400 billion electronics manufacturing industry in the country by 2025. Again, something which may or may not happen in future. The Government of India exempted 35 machine parts from basic custom duty in order to boost mobile handset production in the country. Very important. See, one thing which we have to understand is, even though we have few mobile manufacturing units set up in the country, especially I can think of Xiaomi, Redmi, whatever it is. They have set it up. They have been doing that. Even Apple has done that. But the problem here is most of the components which are required for the mobile phone, they are not being manufactured here, but instead they are being imported to India. Then they are mostly assembled and then sold as made in India, or made in India. But the point here is, what about the imports? When we import all these mobile ports, or rather parts, so we'll have to pay huge custom duty because we will be importing from elsewhere, maybe China or US or wherever it is. So what the government did was, at least to start this process, let's start with this, wherein we'll start assembling parts. Maybe down the line we'll actually manufacture all these components in India itself. So that would be the ideal situation. But as a first step, what they have done is they have made at least 35 machine parts which are used in a mobile phone exempt from basic custom duty. So if you add custom duty, the cost will simply add up and it will ultimately be passed on to the end customer or consumer. So to avoid this, the government has kind of subsidized it. Basically that only, because they're not charging tax on that, so they're losing money on that. But anyway, to encourage manufacturing, they have done this. Good. This is also very important. In Union Budget 2018-19, the Government of India reduced the income tax rate to 25% for all companies having a turnover of up to 250 crores. Below that, you'll have to only pay 25% of tax. That's what the government said. The rest of them, they can pay 30%. So that is one good initiative. Anything else? No. Okay, let's look at the way forward. Manufacturing sector of India has potential to reach US dollars 1 trillion by 2025, and India is expected to rank among the top 3 growth economies and manufacturing destination of the world by the year 2020. We are already in 2022. Okay. The implementation of goods and service tax will make India a common market with GDP of 2.5 trillion along with a population of 1. Okay, nonsense. Skip. Tertiary. Okay, services. The service sector in India is a key driver of economic growth. Nikkei India Services Purchasing Managers Index. Okay, Nikki. I don't know how do you pronounce that? Stood at 53.8. Purchasing Managers Index PMI stood at 53.8 in May 2019, indicating an expansion but fall in June 19 to 49.6. Okay. Strong overseas demand and new export business opportunities help to boost total sale in country. So now when they introduce something, it is their duty to explain what exactly this Purchasing Managers Index talks about. Anyway, let's not bother about it. Services exports are a key driver of India's growth, and India ranked as the 8th largest exporter of commercial services, mostly because of software, I believe. India is currently the 2nd largest telecommunication market and the 2nd highest number of internet users in the world. This is interesting. Might be asked, which country has the 2nd highest number of internet users in the world? India. Then major government initiatives. Ignore. Nothing worth seeing. Okay, this is interesting. FDI policy. 100% FDI. That means the foreign investors can invest in certain industries to the extent of 100%. Which are those? Most often the government restricts. Like if there is a company and if it needs capital, 100% of the capital cannot be from foreign. Normally. Okay, sometimes they will restrict it to 25%, sometimes restrict it to 20%, maybe 50%, etc. But let's read what exactly is written here. 100% FDI is allowed under automatic route in which categories? Scheduled air transport service, regional air transport service, and domestic scheduled passenger airlines. Basically, if you want to invest in airlines, you can get, or if you want to start an airline company, you can get 100% FDI. Okay. One more thing is 100% education, FDI in education sector. That is also interesting. Likewise, tourism and hospitality subject to applicable regulations and laws. That is okay, but at least they are now approving 100% FDI. Healthcare sector 100% FDI is allowed. That is also interesting. Telecom sector has been increased to 100% from 74%. It was capped at 74 earlier. Now it has been increased to 100%. 49% automatic. They don't need any approval. FIPB approval is required for remaining 51%. Okay. Government has allowed 100% FDI in the railway sector. That is also interesting. FDI limit for insurance company has been raised from 26 to 49%. That is interesting. So I would suggest try to remember all this, but this may not be exactly current limits because institute usually doesn't update all this stuff. The first time they released the reference material for CSEET, after that I don't think they have updated it. It's been 2 years now, right? Anyway, agricultural and industrial policies of India. So the various plans, we have had 5-year plans. How effective it was, we do not know. Actually, we may know already. If you open your eyes and see clearly, you will know. 5-year plan, 1951 to 56. First 5-year plan, in fact. The highest priority was accorded to the increase of agricultural production. Just then we had got independence. So anyone would be more worried about the food than about industries. Thankfully, they did concentrate on agriculture. So they just wanted to make sure that we had enough agricultural produce to make sure that everyone was well fed. Nearly 1/3 or 31% of the total plan funds were allocated to agricultural sector. Okay. River valley projects were taken up, irrigational facilities and fertilizer plants were established. Nice. Consequently, production of food grains increased by 36% in a short span of 5 years. A good development, I would say. So once we focused on agriculture and made sure that everything was taken care, the second 5-year plan focused on the industrial growth, and only 20% of the plan allocation was devoted to agriculture as opposed to 31% in the previous 5-year plan. Then comes the third 5-year plan. So here in third 5-year plan, we had the focus on self-sufficiency in food grains. So basically we didn't want to import anything. So that's the thing. Then there was this green revolution. So but the target was wasn't met because of the Chinese aggression. Then there was this Indo-Pak war and all those things. But during the next 3 annual plans, so we had to do annual plans because of wars. So agriculture recorded 6 to 9% annual growth, which is actually interesting. Encouraging under the impact of green revolution. The production of food grains touched 94 million tons. Good. Next, fourth 5-year plan, it aimed at 5% annual growth in food grains, high yielding variety of seeds, fertilizer use, new agriculture techniques and irrigation facilities provided to expand area of green revolution. So they wanted to basically do improve the productivity or the yield. The production of wheat increased sharply, but growth in rice, oilseeds and coarse grains were nominal, resulting in only 3% growth. Just still okay, but their target was 5%. After that, it kind of gets repetitive, so I won't get too much into that. So these are all generic statements. Even if you skip it also, it's fine. Just try to read what exactly it is. NFSM. So then Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, RKVY. So try to remember all these acronyms. That should be sufficient. Okay, let's move on to industrial policies now. Industrial policy is a statement of objectives to be achieved in the area of industrial development. Basically, that is what the policy will tell. So let's see what are the different industrial policies we have had. So Industrial Policy Resolution 1948. After having attained independence, the Government of India declared its first industrial policy in 1948, immediately, few months after independence. So what are the salient features of the policy? Strategic industries. So basically, public sector, the government wanted to get into manufacturing in few areas like arms and ammunition, atomic energy and rail transport. They didn't want any private players to be in those industries. Basic key industries, public cum private sector. So which are those? Iron and steel, aircraft manufacturing, shipbuilding. So these were all key industries. Central government started all the new industries in this, and only the existing enterprises in these industries were allowed to continue. So a very bad decision, but yeah, that's what the government thought it fit back then to do. Important industry, controlled private sector. The moment you try to control any business, any type of industry, then obviously you will be looking at doom, because market cannot be controlled. If you try to control, it will behave erratically, and we have seen what exactly happened with our country as well, because they wanted to control all these things, but fortunately we didn't do that for long. 18 industries were kept in important industries category. Such important industries included heavy chemicals, sugar, cotton textile, woolen industry, etc., etc. These industries will continue to remain under private sector. However, the central government, in consultation with the state government, will have control over them. See, it's like you don't touch the businesses. We'll make sure that you are under our control. Control of people who do not know anything about business, who take home salaries and who are not accountable for the decisions which they take. So we will control your industries. Welcome. So that's the kind of attitude which we had. Then there are other industries were left open for like all the basic industries are already taken over by the government. Either they are controlled or directly managed by government. Whatever is left, you may take. That's what the government's attitude was in the first industrial policy. I would say a very horrible policy. Then, then there was one more. All I can think of is this: protection of small entrepreneurs against competition from larger industries. I'd be curious to know how exactly they did. Usually, whenever the government comes up with any such scheme, usually they'll be protecting larger industries from small entrepreneurs. So, in the name of protecting small entrepreneurs. So, that is something which we have seen over a period of time. So there were so many industrial policies. We'll not get into that. Let's look at 1991 because that's when we had this liberalization policy implemented. The new industrial policy was announced in July 1991 in the midst of severe economic instability in the country. Okay, what was the policy all about? Abolition of licensing system for large number of industries. Very important decision because until then you have to take license for everything. We are a country of licensing. Like for example, back then we had to have a license even for a radio, license for a TV. Can you even imagine such a situation now? So, but we were such pioneers when it came to licensing. So finally, in 1991, so they had this thought of removing or doing away with the licensing system. This finally realized basically. Greater role of private sector envisaged. After 40 years, after independence, but still better late than never. Contraction in field of operations for public sector. That means they want to get out of the business basically, the government. Government should never be in the business because they will be run by some officers who will not be accountable for their decisions. Whether or not the factory or any such public sector undertaking makes profit or do not make profit, those people will still get their salary. In fact, they will even get increments. But if you really want an industry to thrive, you should make the person taking the decisions accountable. So, but here, it isn't the case. Of course, there are exceptions. Few individuals out of their own enterprising nature, they have made sure that few of the public sector undertakings at least thrive during their regime. So after that, again, they will not be able to control. Dismantling of controls, whatever control the government had, they just want to do away with that. I'm talking about the 1991 policy. Of course, they did all that. Of course, mostly this policy was drafted with the leadership of under the leadership of Mr. Manmohan Singh, the former Prime Minister of India, who was back then the Finance Minister of India. Okay, so this is when first we had this liberalization of foreign investments, wherein we said we'll allow foreign investment in the form of FDI up to 50% with automatic approval in select industries. Of course, even now there are few restrictions in certain industries, but back then they started with restrictions. Now those restrictions are minimal. And small scale industries were to be promoted. That was the idea basically. Okay, anyway, that's the general stuff about 1991 industrial policy. Basically, we wanted to liberalize. Basically, we wanted to remove all the government interventions so that people wouldn't be scared to start an industry. Even now, we hear people or rather government telling us that we have removed licensing. We have made sure that everything can happen in one day. You don't have to run from pillar to post to get some approval for your industry. That means what? Even after so many years of liberalization, we still haven't actually seen the fruits of liberalization to the fullest extent. Of course, it has helped, but has it helped to the extent where we can say, yes, we are so fully liberalized that there is no requirement of government intervention at all. So the government intervenes wherever it is. It thinks it needs to intervene, whether or not it is right or wrong. It is up to, it is for us to decide actually, not for the government. But once you are in that field, you will know what exactly is the current scenario. So let's not get into that. But I'm just giving you a picture of reality as well. Balance of payments. The balance of payments is the method countries use to monitor all international monetary transactions at a specific period. Usually, see, balance of payments, we calculate how much are we imported, how much are we exported, so which is more, which is less. Usually the balance of payment is calculated every quarter and every calendar year. All trades conducted by both the private and public sectors are accounted for in the BOP to determine how much money is going in imports and out exports of actually going in is actually coming in. We are exporting and the money comes out of a country. We import and the money actually goes out. Technically the BOP should be zero, meaning whatever we have should be equal to whatever we owe to others, or our assets should be equal to our liabilities, or our income should be equal to our expenses. But it is never the case. Okay, let's move on. Of course, they have given a formula as well. It's very simple, as I already told. It's nothing but the difference between exports and imports, which will give us the trade balance. So, if exports is more than imports, then we'll have a positive or a surplus trade balance. If imports is more than exports, like what we have in India, then we will have a deficit trade balance, which is our case actually. Major items of India's balance of payments. What all do we sell actually? Goods, services, primary income. Okay. Not important. Okay. Favorable balance and unfavorable balance. When there is an excess of exports over imports, it is called favorable balance. That is nothing but the surplus which I was talking about. In 1976-77 in India, imports were of 5,073 crore while exports of 5,143. This is interesting. At least at some point of time in the history, we had a positive balance, even though it is very short or negligible. Still, it is nice to know that we had such a balance. In 82-83, few years from then, our imports were of 14,047 crores, where the exports were only 8,637. The exports did not move further at all. Oh my goodness. You can look at the deficit here. From 69 crore positive balance to 5,410 negative balance or unfavorable balance of trade is hugely disappointing. Okay. India's trade deficit narrowed to US dollars 13.45 billion in August 19 from USD 17.92 billion in the same month last year, that is 2018 August. Now we are talking in terms of billions. Anyway, the latest data is not here. I would suggest you to get it from elsewhere. But still, we are a trade deficit country, or our balance of payments is not favorable at all. It was, of course, favorable sometime in the past, but now. Okay, let's move on to foreign investments in India, types and flows. Types of foreign investments, we have two different types. Foreign portfolio investment. Funds from foreign country could be invested in shares. They can invest in shares of the companies here, properties, ownership, management, or collaboration. So based on that, they have classified into two different things. Which are those? Portfolio investment and institutional investment. We'll see what are those. FDI, first of all, this we have already seen, foreign direct investment. You directly invest in some business here by taking up the shares. Now let us look at FPI. Foreign portfolio investment is an investment by foreign entities and non-residents in Indian securities. In Indian securities, not in the companies themselves. So they will buy shares or maybe government bonds, corporate bonds, convertible securities, infrastructure securities. They are not investing in any company, but rather investing in the shares, government bonds, corporate bonds, convertible securities, etc. The intention is to ensure a controlling interest in India at an investment that is lower than FDI. See, if you want an easy exit and entry, then better to invest in shares. Just buy the shares from market and you can any time exit from that by selling the shares. That's all. But if you have to invest as FDI, then the entry barrier will be there, exit barrier will be there. So there will be hundreds of procedures which you need to follow. So to overcome this, we have FPI. People who want an easy route, they can simply select FPI. Those who really want to think in terms of long term, so they will choose for FDI. Anyway, foreign institutional investment. FII is an investment by foreign entities in securities, real property and other investment assets. Okay, it could be mutual fund, hedge fund. Then intention is to not take controlling interest, but to diversify portfolio, ensuring hedging. Hedging means you take an opposite position with respect to your risk. Let's say you have a risk of losing money due to the fall in the price of rupee. How do you overcome that risk? So that overcoming the risk is called hedging. So you take an opposite position in the market so that if something happens to rupee and you lose money there, your opposite position in the market will fetch you money so that it is evened out. That is also there. Then there are differences between FDI and FII. Please go through those. It is interesting and it is not very difficult for you to understand as well. I won't explain that. So that's about lesson 5. Let's move on to lesson 6. Let's take a break of a minute or so and then we'll continue. Welcome back. entrepreneurship scenario. Let's see what exactly we have here. Government initiatives to foster entrepreneurship. What are the initiatives which the government has taken up? Make in India, we've already seen that. It was launched in September 14 after the new government came to power. As a national program, the Make in India initiative is aimed at transforming India. We already seen which are the key areas: automobiles, chemicals, etc., etc. Then we have railways, wellness, hospitality, tourism. So different areas. No need to remember all this nonsense. Then they also unveiled Stand Up India. So to encourage startups, I guess. Oh no, this is to encourage. Stand Up India scheme aims at promoting entrepreneurship among women and scheduled castes and tribes. This is interesting and encouraging. The scheme is anchored by Department of Financial Services, FDS, Ministry of Finance, Government of India. So to encourage people from people among women and scheduled castes and tribes, so that they will also take up or go this route, that is entrepreneurship route. So facilities of bank loans between 10 lakh rupees and 1 crore to at least one scheduled caste or scheduled tribe borrower and at least one woman per bank branch for setting up greenfield enterprise. It's a very interesting initiative. I should check how exactly this has progressed now. So who could have taken advantage of this? Any SC or ST and women entrepreneurs above age 18. So they could have taken this. They still can take advantage of this scheme. Loans under the scheme are available for only greenfield projects. Okay, what are these greenfield projects now? Greenfield signifies in this context the first time venture. Okay, first time venture. Okay, if you are doing this for the second time, or if you already have an established business and if you want to set up something new, and for that if you want to get this loan, not possible. It should be your first time venture of the beneficiary in the manufacturing or services or trading sector. So it could either be manufacturing, service or trading sector. In case of non-individual enterprises, 51% of the shareholding and controlling stake should be held by either SC, ST or woman entrepreneur. See, of course, for individuals we can look at their background, but if it's a non-individual enterprise, let's say maybe it is a partnership or maybe it's a company, then what do they say? At least 51% of the shareholding should be held by SC or ST or woman entrepreneur. So that is encouraging that they are not only giving loans to individuals, even for non-individuals. Borrower should not be in default. That is okay. They should not have defaulted any loans earlier. Loan details. Composite loan, including working capital, between 10 lakhs and up to 100 lakhs, that is 1 crore. Purpose of loan: for setting up a new enterprise in the manufacturing, trading or whatever it is. Size of the loan: 75% of the project cost inclusive of term loan and working capital. The stipulation of the loan being expected to cover 75% of the project cost would not apply if the borrower's contribution along with the convergence support from any other scheme exceeds 25% in the project cost. That means they can only give up to 75%. You will have to bring the rest. But if you bring more than 25%, they will reduce their component of loan. Okay, let's say if some project requires 20 lakhs of investment, they can only give you 75% of that, not more than that. So that is the thing. Interest rate: the rate of interest would be lowest applicable rate of the bank for that category, not to exceed 3%. That is very inexpensive loan, I would say. A very negligible rate of interest. Besides primary security, the loan may be secured by collateral security of credit guarantee fund scheme for Stand Up India loans as decided by banks. They can take up any other collateral security if they wish to. The loan is repayable in 7 years with a maximum moratorium period of 18 months. So moratorium period means that period when you don't or can't pay loan, or that period where they'll say you pay after so many months. So that is the moratorium period, but it has to be paid within 7 years, the entire loan. Okay. So that was about Stand Up India. Now we have come to Startup India. So Startup India, as the name suggests, is probably for the startups, to encourage more and more startups in the country. Let's see what exactly they have. Financial benefits, most of the startups are patent based. Okay, let's see what they mean. It means they produce or provide unique goods or services. Correct. In order to register their patents, they have to incur a heavy cost, which is known as patent cost. True. Under this scheme, the government provides 80% rebate on the patent cost. This is very encouraging. See, as they say, most of these startups, they provide unique service. So if you are providing a unique service, what if tomorrow someone tries to copy your service? So what you do, you get your service patented, saying, I am started this thing. If someone wants to do the same thing again, they'll have to pay me first because I own the patents. But to get that, it's very expensive. That's why what the government has done is, they're telling you it will be given to you at 80% discount, basically. That is the thing. Income tax benefits for startups, of course. Startups enjoy a good amount of benefits under income tax. The government exempts their 3 years income tax post incorporation year. So if the company is incorporated in the year 18, let's say, or why 18? Why should we think like institute and go back in time? Let's say the company is incorporated in 2022, this financial year, and which means the next assessment year, they don't have to pay tax, and next 2 more years they don't have to worry about the tax. Okay, that is interesting. They can also claim exemption from tax on capital gains. Registration benefits. Everyone believes that incorporation and registration of business are far more difficult than running it. Yeah, that's true. It is because of the long and complex steps of registration. Good that the government has actually recognized this. Have they done anything about it? We do not know. Under the startup scheme, an application is there to facilitate registration. Okay. A single meeting is arranged at the Startup India Hub. Also, there is a single doubt and problem solving window for them. In theory, looks good. Don't know how exactly it works in practice. Government tenders. Everyone seeks to acquire government tenders because of high payments and large projects. See, what are these government tenders? Government usually does this if they want to do something. They won't be able to do that on their own because they won't have the manpower, but they will have funds allocated through various budgets. So what they do is they will call for tenders. Like, they will tell, this is the project. If you wish to do or take up this project, bid for it. If we think that your bid is good enough, we will grant this project to you. But as they say, it is not so easy to acquire the government tenders. Under this scheme, that is the Startup India scheme, startups get priority in getting government tenders. Also, they are not required to have any prior experience. Otherwise, if governments start saying that we need to have prior experience, how will they have prior experience without you giving them an opportunity to have prior experience? So that's why they have done away with that clause. Huge networking opportunities. Okay, that is fine. So who can do who can register for startup? Partnership firm, LLP, and private limited company. So that means if you are an individual and if you have a startup and if you wish to register for this, no. At least have a partnership firm which is registered. That way you can get into this. Then we have Skill India, National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC. Let's see what exactly we have here. Is a not-for-profit public limited company incorporated in July 2008 under Section 25 of the Companies Act. 1956, because back then we had 1956 Companies Act, no? Corresponding to Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013. So now that erstwhile Section 25 is under Section 8. So that is there. Okay. What does it aim to do? It aims to promote skill development by catalyzing creation of large, quality and for-profit vocational institutions. So they want to promote those institutions which provide all these things. Further, the organization provides funding to build scalable and profitable vocational training initiatives. You provide the training, we will support you. So that is what their aim is. Its mandate is to enable support system which focuses on quality assurance. See, if we have enough number of trained people, they will obviously contribute to the economy. So that was the whole agenda behind NSDC. Let's see what are the details. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendra. Okay, vocational training needs to be made aspirational to transform India into skill capital of the world. Aspirational means one should actually aspire to do this, take up this. So they should think, okay, I should do this training. If I do the training, maybe it will help me in my career or whatever that is. So that is what they are trying to say. Okay. Again, all those things not very important. There's nothing much for you to learn here. Skip. Aram se you can skip all this. Okay, again, bit of theory. What to do? Thus, the need for entrepreneurs in India may be captured in the following points. Let's see what exactly they have to say. Entrepreneurs promote capital formation by mobilizing the idle savings of the people. Okay. They create immediate and large scale employment by establishing small scale industries. This is for sure. So not everyone can be employed by big companies or government sectors. So we need someone who can employ others as well. So we have entrepreneurs who do this. They promote balanced regional development by establishing small scale enterprises in rural, remote and less developed regions. So this is also true. So if it's a small scale industry, if the team itself is, let's say, just having 10 people, they can set up anywhere. No? All they need probably is a good internet connection, that's all, which every village has now these days. They help reduce concentration of economic power. As I just now mentioned, if your team is small in number, you can actually go anywhere you wish to. So, and you don't have to just be in cities only. So of course cities will have their own advantage. You will get everything would be accessible, but then there will be concentration of economic power. So that is one of the disadvantage of all these things. Anyway, they promote equitable distribution of wealth. Okay, all this is theory, not very important. Skip. Okay, bottlenecks or problems in entrepreneurial growth. What are the problems which those people face who want to be entrepreneurs? Most entrepreneurs think on infinite time scales, as though they have plenty of time to achieve their goals. So that means they don't have set time. They think time is unlimited. That's what these people say. Whoever has written this. How do they know how most entrepreneurs think? Time is the most valuable resource, yet most entrepreneurial leaders don't use it effectively. It is very important to analyze the business flow metrics and identify time wasting processes. Theory. Sermoning those people who are actually in field by those who are not. Interesting. Lack of money. Inefficient time management. This is a problem which everyone of us faces. No? We all manage our time inefficiently. Let's accept it. It's not just the entrepreneurs. We waste our time watching reruns on Netflix or whatever it is. Then lack of money. Inadequate funds. This is a universal problem. Everyone feels this, not just entrepreneurs. But of course entrepreneurs also feel, because they may have an idea but they may not have proper funding for their idea. So this is something which is natural. Too much noise. What is this too much noise? Okay. This is not exactly their fault, but sometimes media also hypes it up, saying that this is the next big thing, you will have to do this. Case in point, just look at the Shark Tank entrepreneurs, the ones who have been selected by the Shark Tank entrepreneurs. Just follow their trajectory, or let's say next 2-3 years. Let's see where exactly they go. Okay, otherwise it's just noise, as they say, too much noise. Small or non-existing network. They won't have networks again. Growing too much too soon. So what? Let them grow. No. How can you decide what is too soon or not too soon? So this is the problem. Anyway, that's about chapter or lesson 6. Let's move on to lesson 7, which is business environment. What I will do is I will keep this for the next class. Let's see how much is there in business environment. We are done with economics. As I have already mentioned, I have just skimmed through the syllabus. Otherwise there is no way we can cover everything in such short time. If you want detailed lectures, please go to our website. It is there. So in case of business environment, we have lesson 7, which is business environment. Then we have key government institutions, lesson 8, and that's all. Okay, I think by next class we should be able to deal with this. And whatever is left, I'll try to cover that also, if at all I feel something important is left out. So I'll see if we can cover the same in the next class. So in the next economics and business environment session, we should be able to cover the entire syllabus and maybe a few sample questions as well. So let's do that in the next class. Thank you for attending. Before you leave, let me just make a quick announcement. So if you have not already downloaded our app, I would suggest please do download the app. So it's available on Google Play Store. All that you need to do is just search for Ekcel Academy online. So it's a free to download app. So by downloading and registering there, you will get all these goodies like mock tests, quizzes, so and all the notes which are required for you to study and prepare for the exams. I hope this session was useful, and if you have already not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe. Thank you.